reality, my mentality. Everything changes so rapidly, and I'm ready for the never-ending fire. Dancing with my deepest dark desires. Miracle, how empirical. Don't know anything quite hysterical. Everything around me transpires as I fulfill my darkest desire.
Yo, what's up guys, Impulse7 here, and today I'm bringing us another video, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys a summary, details, and lore for the newest Fazbear Fright story called What We Found, besides the Stitch Wraith number 8. But yeah, like the last two videos on Gumdrop Angel and Sergio's Lucky Days, check those out by the way if you haven't already. I split this video into 3 parts, which is the summary, the details, and the lore. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So, the main character is Hudson, and he's going to be the security guard for Fazbear's Fright, which is the FNaF 3 location, and the story is heavily based on FNaF 3. Hudson has 2 friends named Barry and Dwayne, and they're bringing some items into Fazbear Fright. And the lobby of Fazbear's Fright had a bunch of boxes full of stuff from Freddy's location from 30 plus years ago. Hudson has to work double shifts at Fazbear's Fright, both day and night, and he's like sleep deprived. One of the boxes opened that Dwayne and Barry were holding. One of those boxes opened, and inside was a Chica arm with the cupcake in her hand, and Hudson was kind of scared of it. So Barry and Dwayne go to get some stuff and bring inside, and Hudson goes to the office and checks out the cameras. So Hudson has a physically abusive stepdad named Lewis, and he also liked a girl at Fazbear's Fright named Faith. Throughout the story, we keep hearing about this fire which happened at Hudson's family house, and Hudson is continuously accused of setting the fire. And the fire killed Hudson's mom and left him stuck with Lewis, blah blah blah. Even Faith asked him if he said it when he went on a date with her once, which caused him to like her less. Anyways, Hudson walks through the halls, and we get some description of how there's like animatronic parts and stuff all over the walls and stuff. And we're told that Hudson is pretty scared of this place. So Hudson goes around the building into the dining room, which he hates, and the kitchen, which has really big ovens that a person could fit inside. And keep that in mind because it becomes important later. And I have a feeling you can guess what happens. Anyways, they go to get ice cream. Dwayne is like a child, blah blah blah, and they start talking about their grandmothers and stuff. And yeah, so now Hudson goes back to Fazbear's Fright to do his next shift, and he just does his rounds around the building as he would do any other night. Interestingly, Hudson's hours are from 1 to 7 rather than 12 to 6, at least for this night, but it keeps changing throughout the story, and I'm just like, what is it? Like, just make up your mind. Anyways, Hudson is mostly weirded out by whoever thought of the animatronics like Chica, the Cupcake Bonnie, Foxy, and even the puppet is mentioned here too. It's also said that they would be adding sound soon, and I think this is supposed to reference the audio lore in FNaF 3, literally the only way to play the game. So yeah, then it cuts to later after Hudson's shift. We learn that Barry Allen, aka the Flash, Barry from this story actually went on a date with Faith. Not Barry Allen, and Barry Allen isn't the Flash at all. I did not expose his identity, not even close. And yeah, he went on a date with Faith, and Hudson isn't too happy about this, but he says he's fine with it as long as if Barry actually likes her, then he's fine with it. Kind of, not really. Anyways, we now learn that there's a couple more truckloads of Freddy's items coming soon, and tomorrow there will be some big find coming. And I think we can all guess what that big find is. Based on FNaF 3, yeah, I think we can. So then it skips to 5 PM and Hudson goes to see his granny. What is his schedule? Please, somebody tell me what his schedule is. At first it says there's 6 hours between every shift. Now he's off work at 5, and he should be off at 7. Like, alright, whatever, never mind. So then there's some stuff where Hudson goes to his grandmother's house, and she tries convincing him to quit his job, but he chooses not to, and he feels like she knows something. So yeah, that night nothing really happens. So then when he comes to work the next day, Barry and Dwayne are bringing in a massive box, and apparently what is inside is mind-blowing. I'm gonna take a guess here and say it's... Yep, that is Springtrap, alright. And it is said that it was found in a hidden room in one of the pizzerias. You guys thinking what I'm thinking? Safe room? Yep, FNaF 3 follow me minigames. Yep. That's Springtrap. But then Hudson gets nervous about what's in the box, and Dwayne talks about how Hudson is a scaredy cat, basically, and that pisses Hudson off, so he just leaves to go do his rounds, and Barry's like, you can be a dick. Sometimes. But yeah. So the others end up showing him anyway. They show him Springtrap, and he hates it. He's scared of it. So then later Hudson does his rounds and looks around at Springtrap. He looks inside and sees tissue in there. But he's in denial and thinks, oh, this is fake. But then Springtrap speaks and tells him it's real. Even though Hudson hadn't said anything out loud, he was only thinking that it was fake. And I've heard people saying that what happens next is because he touched Springtrap, not in like a weird way or anything, but yeah, that's what people have been saying. Not exactly sure about that, but it could be. It probably is, because I don't think there's any other reason, unless it's just because Springtrap's here, so he wants to torture him, whatever, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's as if Springtrap read his mind. But not only that, Springtrap speaks in Mr. Atkins' voice, and Mr. Atkin was Hudson's old algebra teacher. Math teacher, whatever. And we know it's obviously not him in the suit, because like, this suit, whoever was inside, they died inside, or quote-unquote died inside 30 plus years ago, and Hudson was only 23, so if it was his teacher in there, then he wouldn't have been inside Springtrap at all. He wouldn't have had time to be inside Springtrap, so we obviously know it's not him inside. It's just like, it's kind of like a voice mimic, but it's all in his head in a way, if that makes sense. It's kind of like that. So yeah, Springtrap even calls Hudson stupid, like Mr. Atkin actually did to Hudson at one point. Yeah, dick move. Anyway, then Hudson starts feeling like he's going back to his own memories. He feels like he's in his classroom and everything in it. He feels everything in it. But then he shoves his nightstick into Springtrap's mouth, and he thinks he broke off one of Springtrap's teeth, but he wasn't so sure. He tries to carry Springtrap to a closet and lock him there, but he wouldn't move off the wall. It was really heavy. So he decides to just go and continue his rounds, but he keeps thinking about Springtrap. And then he starts like drumming and stuff, and the Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica statues on the stage start singing, and their mouths move. These are statues, not animatronics, so how are they moving? Hudson tries drowning out the noise by being louder, but then he's taken into another memory, this one of being abused by Lewis for not completing his homework. Hudson was hit so hard that he was bleeding, and then when he is able to see again, he realizes he's still in the arcade of Fazbear's Fright, and this happens over and over again. And blood was on the arcade machine in front of him too. Yeah, he goes into more memories later on, over and over again. So yeah, that really happened, just not the way that Hudson saw it happening. He was like, wait, did I hit myself on the desk? And later on, he's like, did I stab myself? Yeah, you'll see. So yeah, that really happened, just not the way Hudson saw it happening. So the bleeding is really excessive, so Hudson goes to the office to get the first aid kit that's there, and he also checks the cams, and at first he sees nothing there, no movement, but then he realizes Springtrap is gone. So he brings a hammer with him and goes to the bathroom to get himself cleaned up, and then he goes into another memory, this one of Bully submerging his head under toilet water and flushing it while his head was in there. This reminds me a little bit of the bite scene, but not so much, but not too much, so I won't include it in the details section, but still wanted to bring that up. And yeah, there's some like victim evidence in the story, and I hate it. I'm upset by that. Anyway, so now Hudson starts getting angry and yelling out for Springtrap, but then he hears laughter coming from above him. So he looks up, and in the vent high up on the wall, there was Springtrap with his mouth open, legit laughing at Hudson. So then Hudson throws the hammer at him, but Springtrap goes into the vent before it hits him, and Hudson follows Springtrap into the vent and decides he's gonna stand up to Springtrap. And also Lewis and Bullies from now on, whatever, blah blah blah. I don't think you have the chance. I don't think you're gonna have the chance to stand up to them. Hudson, I think you're gonna be too dead for that. I mean, what? Sorry. So yeah, he goes through to find Springtrap, and then when he decides to get out, half of a chica grabs his foot and doesn't want to let go. Then he goes into another memory, this time of his first and only date with Faith. And he is able to get out of the vent and gets Chica off him, but then he hears a weird roaring noise, and the Chica parts are ripped apart by the costume parts, since he was in the backstage at this point. So now he remembers he has no weapons, so he runs for the kitchen and finds a butcher knife and a rolling pin. He makes it to his office and doesn't see anything wrong on the cameras. Then he hears the Mr. Atkin voice again. Then Hudson realized he could just leave the building. But then he goes into another memory, and this one is of Hudson's algebra class with Mr. Atkin. Animatronic mouths pour into the room and kept calling him stupid. They crawl on him, in his mouth, in his ear, and then it made me laugh. Hudson pissed his pants. And he starts crying too. And then he wraps his arms around his legs and then just starts rocking himself in place. And yeah, when he gets up, the mouths are gone. But then he goes into another memory. This one now of Lewis bashing him and breaking his wrist. And then in the real world now, Hudson's wrist was now broken. Lewis was bashing him because he peed his pants or something in the memory. So on the walls, Hudson sees that the animatronic parts on the walls have Hudson's nightstick and hammer, which he had earlier. Hudson ended up backing up into a wall, and Foxy's hook cut into his shirt and his back. The time was only 2 a.m. and that means there's 4 more hours left in his shift. Okay, I'm so confused. When does his shift start and end? Story, make up your mind. Anyways, Hudson started hearing Lewis calling him nothing over and over again, and then Hudson sees Springtrap coming down the hall towards him. Hudson made sure to get the knife before Springtrap since the knife was on the floor, but though Hudson got to it first, Springtrap was able to stab it through his arm. And Hudson runs away. He is bit by an animatronic part on the wall, and he's in a lot of pain, but then he turns around, Springtrap is gone. The knife is on the floor again. Hudson bled a lot because obviously a knife was dug into his arm, so he decides he needs to get to the lobby so he could get towels to cover the wound on his arm and also leave the building. As he passes Pirate Cove, Springtrap appears holding a foxy arm, ripping open the curtain with his hook. Springtrap didn't chase him or anything, but then Hudson makes it back to where Springtrap was at the beginning of the night, and he was hanging on the wall exactly where he was left at the beginning. He didn't attack Hudson or anything. So Hudson gets to the gift shop and wraps towels around his stab wound on his arm. Hudson goes to break the window and escape, but he needs to get something to use to break the window. But then he goes into another memory. This one of the awful smell of tobacco which Lewis smokes. And Lewis throws him against the wall, and it's very, very painful. And he got up, and when Hudson got up, he's back in the real world, and he sees every single action figure and every single plushie in the gift shop is guarding the exit and watching Hudson so he couldn't get out because something similar happened in the memory. So Hudson decides that nobody could reach him if he goes into the fireplace. Boy, what a great idea! Burn yourself alive, that's the way to save yourself from maybe and not certainly dying. Amazing logic! So Hudson goes into the kitchen and climbs inside the oven. Then we learn the story of the fire. Hudson hid in the fireplace to stay away from Lewis, but he accidentally lit the fire in the fireplace and it spread throughout the whole house, basically. Then the oven turned on and Hudson heard his granny's voice right before he was cooked alive and died. Then it cuts to Barry and Dwayne in the morning, and they don't know where Hudson is, but they smell something burning and going into the kitchen, but we don't know what happens. It just ends right there. I actually really like this story. Aside from the Mike victim implications, it's one of my favorite stories. Not my favorite, but it's up there. Anyways, now let's move on to the details I found. I got 12 details. Number 1. The lobby of Fazbear's Fright had a bunch of boxes plus a bunch of stuff from Freddy's locations from 30 plus years ago, but it explicitly says 30 plus years ago. This could mean that FNaF 3 wasn't in 2023, but rather actually later than that. And you might say that Henry's recording from the Insanity ending of FNaF 6 implies that game is in 2023 and that game has to be after FNaF 3, but I think it's more likely that it is just the recording that was in 2023 and the game was actually later than that. Number 2, Dwayne holds up Chica arms and walks toward Hudson like a zombie. So this is likely a reference to Springtrap, which is obviously in the story one of the main characters, the main animatronic antagonist. And since Springtrap is William Afton inside a suit, which used to be yellow, and I don't think I need to explain the zombie part. Number 3, this story is exactly 83 pages long. Scott, why? Why do you do this? Wanna make Mike victim canon? Fine. Wanna make Mike bro canon? Fine. But don't give valid evidence for both. Just choose one and stick with it, please. Okay, number 4. A little bit ago, I said that maybe FNaF 3 is in 2023, but it's interesting because Dwayne says all of them are 23 years old, which could be a reference to that year. Number 5. It is said that Fazbear's Fright was not meant to be a representation of any of the previous locations. In the survival logbook, we see a room similar to the FNaF 3 office. Some people believe this is just an older location and FNaF 3 was based on this office, but no, now it's pretty much confirmed that this isn't an old location. This is only the FNaF 3 location. And whether that means the logbook wasn't during FNaF 1 but instead during FNaF 3 or not is still a mystery, but I honestly think it probably is. It would I mean, you may be wondering what's with the references to FNaF 1 in the logbook and stuff like that, but the whole point of Fazbear's Fright is to make a horror attraction based on the events in the previous Freddy's location. A logbook based on the newest Freddy's location, which was still 30 years before, would probably make it seem a bit more authentic. And yeah, I'm not certain about this. There's definitely a few holes in it, but like, it's hard to explain away. Barry, Dwayne, and Hudson decide to go to an ice cream parlor for Sundays. To be more specific, Charlie's ice cream parlor. Charlie? Charlie is in the main character of the main 3 novels, and also the spirit that possesses the puppet in the games. Probably not actually her, but maybe a reference. But also, Charlie's ice cream parlor. In the 4th closet, we learn that the 4th Charlie bot is Circus Baby, an animatronic associated with ice cream. Number 7. One thing I don't like about this story is that it implies Mike victim a few different times, and I hate Mike victim. Not really as a theory, I think it could work as a theory, but as a storyline, I don't like it very much. Kids were apparently mean to Hudson in the story, which obviously connects to Crying Child, and the fact that he's a security guard and doesn't like looking at himself in the mirror connects to Mike. Not only that though, but Hudson was once locked in a supply closet with bullies which directly parallels the post-night 4 minigame from FNaF 4 when Crying Child is locked in the supply closet. Number 8. I found some Mike Bro evidence. Yay! Hudson went from one boring job to another over and over again, and it is stated that he can't shake the stigma of being a suspect in an arson/murder. This reminds me a lot of how Foxy Bro, which still probably Mike, kills his brother accidentally, and then uses fake names like Fritz Smith and Mike Schmidt, depending on what theories you believe, but I at least believe those, to steer clear of the name Afton so he wouldn't be suspected as the murderer of Crying Child. Number 9. Because of the hook, the animatronic Hudson is most unsettled by is Foxy. If Mike victim it really is true or Hudson represents Crying Child, this could be a reference to Foxy Bro using Foxy to scare Crying Child. It also says he'd be scared of Foxy no matter what if he has his hook, whether it being an animatronic in a person or a suit, or a person in a suit. That person in a suit part really stands out to me, because first of all, the whole premise of Springtrap, and second, that reminds me of how Foxy Bro wears the Foxy mask, and at this point, I had only read 28 pages of this 83-page long story, and already the story has more evidence for Mike victim than literally the entire FNaF series. Alright, number 10. In FNaF 3, we never see Springtrap in any vents up high on the wall, but in this story, he is in a vent up high on the wall. The only place we see this is in Ultimate Custom Night, and it just kind of seems like a small little connection to me. Number 11. When Hudson sees Springtrap coming down the hall towards him, he's using Lewis's voice and calling him nothing. But interestingly, Springtrap's mouth is actually moving as he says this. With the other voices, this didn't happen. I think we can agree that Lois is a parallel to William, and a William parallel having a small connection to Springtrap? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Number 12. Hudson accidentally lighting the fire reminds me a little of what Foxy Bro did. Not nearly a similar situation, but it's kind of similar that it's a massive mistake which caused him to run away so he wouldn't have to deal with the guilt of it. So yeah, those are all the details of the story. So now I'm going to talk about the lore. I feel like all three stories in this book have uncertain lore. Gumdrop Angel implied Mike Bro a little bit, but not too much. Sergio's Lucky Day paralleled Jeremy and Glitchtrap, but gave us nothing new, and now this one elaborates more on the FNaF 3 location, and I do like that a lot. But it gives valid evidence for both Mike Bro and Mike Victim. And like I said before, Scott. You can make Mike Bro canon. That would be cool. You can make Mike Victim canon. Not as cool, but still alright. So pick one, please. And please just don't give us valid evidence for both. Just make up your mind, please. I'm not bashing on Scott at all. I love his story and I love his games. But this one thing, the identity of Michael Afton is one of the very few things that I think Scott should actually confirm himself. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe. Join my Discord server, link in description. Check out my other Fazbear Fright stories, summaries for this book if you haven't already on Gumdrop Angel and Sergio's Lucky Day. And I will see you all in the next video. Also, stay tuned for the video I do just like this one on the Stitch Wraith epilogue. Hope you're all excited for that. And yeah, see you guys later. Impulse 7 out, and peace.